Have you ever been part of a team that just, clicked? Achieving something amazing, maybe something more than you thought possible.
Or maybe the flip side, a group full of really talented people that somehow just, well, fell flat.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah,
common experience, isn't it? And that often comes down to this idea of culture.
right. And the source we're diving into today, The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, gives us a really practical way to think about it, not some abstract mission statement.
Yeah, I love how he puts it. He says, culture is a set of living relationships working toward a shared goal. It's not something you are, it's something you do.
It's so active, isn't it? It focuses right on the interactions, the things people do together.
Totally. And that's our mission for this deep dive, to
Yeah.
unpack the secrets of these super successful groups, pulling out principles from the culture code.
And crucially, focusing on things you can actually use. Actionable insights for your work team, your community group, maybe even your family.
Coyle takes us inside some fascinating places: sports teams, tech companies, even military units.
Yeah, and he starts with this really surprising experiment. Peter Skillman's Spaghetti Marshmallow Challenge.
Oh, yeah. 20 sticks of spaghetti, tape, string, one marshmallow. Build the tallest tower. Simple. Run.
You'd think. But the surprising part is who wins. It's consistently kindergartners.
Right. They outperform business students, lawyers, CEOs. It
Wow.
kind of blows your mind at first.
It really does. Because you assume the adults, with all their planning and experience, would just ace it.
But the kids just jump in, they experiment, they talk, they figure it out together. The adults, sometimes they get stuck in planning, maybe a bit of status management.
And that's the core lesson right there. Individual skills aren't everything. Far from it, it's the interaction that matters most.
So that's what we're focusing on today, moving beyond just individual talent to the power of connection and shared purpose in making groups succeed.
Okay, so where do we start? The first big pillar Coyle identifies is building safety, psychological safety.
This feels absolutely foundational. If people don't feel safe, they won't speak up, they won't take risks, they won't be honest.
Exactly. And the book introduces this idea of belonging cues, these tiny signals that constantly transmit a message.
What kind of message?
Basically, you are safe here. You belong. It could be eye contact, active listening, a smile, just showing you value their presence.
They're often subtle, almost subconscious, right?
Very much so. There's a great story about a guy named Jonathan in a group with a bad apple, someone really negative.
Right, I remember that. What did Jonathan do? He didn't confront the person directly, did he?
No, he did something much smarter. He just consistently used these belonging cues, leaning forward when others spoke, smiling, asking for opinions. Crucially, including the negative person.
So he made it safe for everyone.
Precisely. The book quotes someone observing him saying, Jonathan makes it safe. He radiates an idea that is something like, hey, this is all really comfortable and engaging, and I'm curious about what everybody else has to say.
And it worked. The negative person started contributing more positively.
Yeah, it diffused the negativity. It shows how powerful those consistent small signals can be. For you listening, think about how you signal safety.
And this isn't just anecdote. There's solid research, like Sandy Pentland's work at MIT.
Right, the Human Dynamics Lab. They found they could predict team performance just by looking at the patterns of communication, the belonging cues, not even the content.
Things like energy, engagement, how much do people talk to each other.
Exactly. It's the how, not just the what. It tells you how connected that group really is. So in your meetings, pay attention to those dynamics.
The power of small cues is, well, kind of shocking sometimes, like that Alison Woodbrook study.
Oh, the one about apologizing for the rain. Amazing.
Yeah, just saying, I'm so sorry about the rain. Before making a request, increase the positive response rate by, what was it, over 400%.
422%. It's incredible. It's just that little signal of shared experience, of connection.
Dr. Gregory Walton's quoted saying, these cues signal a relationship, and they totally transform the way people relate. It's about putting the relationship first.
Think about how a tiny bit of empathy can just change the whole tone of an interaction you're having.
And there's that really impactful study from Australia with suicide attempt patients.
The group that received just simple, caring postcards after discharge.
Their readmission rate was half that of the control group over 2 years, just from a few postcards.
It's profound. As Walton says, a small signal can have a huge effect. But he also stresses consistency.
Right. It's not a one-off trick. It's a narrative. You have to keep it going. You're constantly reinforcing that connection, that safety.
And biologically, this makes sense. The book mentions the amygdala, our brain's threat detector.
Yeah, it's always scanning. But when it receives these belonging cues,
It shifts. It moves from danger watch to connection mode. It actually helps us bond. So creating safety literally changes our brain state.
okay, what about a different kind of example? Like the early Google AdWords story. Larry Page's note, "These ads suck." That doesn't sound like a belonging cue.
Huh. No, on the surface it doesn't. But within Google's existing culture, which valued blunt feedback and solving hard problems,
It acted differently.
yeah, it created urgency, a shared challenge. And crucially, Jeff Dean felt safe enough to just jump in and start fixing it without being asked. That empowerment is a form of safety.
So directness can work, but only if that foundation of trust and shared purpose is already there.
Yeah.
It's not about being harsh. It's about tackling the problem together.
Right. It shows that context is everything. For you, it means honesty is good, but ensure the environment feels safe first.
Let's talk about the Christmas truce of 1914. That wasn't just about Christmas, was it?
No, not at all. Research highlighted in the book shows it was the result of weeks, even months, of these small, unspoken agreements between the trenches.
Like not firing during meal times or when retrieving casualties?
Exactly. These microtruces, as historian Tony Ashworth calls them, slowly built a sense of predictability, even a weird kind of trust between enemies.
So by the time Christmas arrived, that underlying sense of, dare I say, safety allowed for that incredible moment of connection.
It's an extreme example, but it shows how consistent small acts can build connection even in the worst circumstances. Those micro moments matter.
We see it in business too, like that WIPRO call center experiment.
Yeah, the group that had just a 1-hour session focused on social connection, sharing stories, finding common ground.
Their retention rate was 250% higher than the group that just got more job info.
It hammers home how much feeling connected matters for commitment. Investing in relationships at work isn't just nice, it has real impact. So for you, think about how to foster those bonds.
Now contrast that with the U.S. Air Force Missileer program described in the book, a really toxic culture.
Definitely. After some failures, the response was top-down discipline, harsh punishments. It completely backfired.
There's that chilling quote from a Missileer, "We don't care if things go properly, we just don't want to get into trouble."
Zero psychological safety, just fear. And Bruce Blair's description of them feeling stuck on the island of misfit toys with no hope for promotion, it's heartbreaking.
And the rigid, impossible checklists actually led to more shortcuts and errors because people were just trying to survive, not excel.
It's a stark reminder that fear is a terrible long-term motivator and actively destroys safety and performance.
Okay, so wrapping up this section on safety, what's the key takeaway for you, the listener?
It really boils down to being mindful, being intentional about those small, consistent signals you send. How do you listen? What does your body language say?
Do you actively invite people in? Do you make it okay for them to contribute?
Yeah. Think about creating those micro moments of connection. Ask a genuine question. Really listen to the answer. Signal, you belong here. Start small, but be consistent.
Great. Okay, let's move to the second pillar, sharing vulnerability. This one can feel a bit uncomfortable for some people.
It really can. We're often taught to project strength, hide weaknesses, especially at work. But Coyle argues vulnerability is absolutely crucial for building trust.
It's not weakness. It's actually essential for cooperation.
Exactly. And the book uses Greg Popovich, the Spurs coach, as a prime example. He's famously tough, demanding.
But there's another side. His players talk about him filling their cups, really caring for them personally, that hug 'em and hold 'em philosophy.
Right. He delivers hard truths, no bullshit, as they say, but it lands differently because it comes with this deep layer of care. Then he'll love you to death.
So players can take the feedback because they trust the source, they know he has their back. That combination is powerful, isn't it?
It really is. And he invests in the relationships off the court, too. Taking Tim Duncan on that trip before drafting him, that's commitment.
Or insisting the team still have their celebratory dinner right after that devastating finals loss in 2013.
What a message that sends. The relationship, the team, the shared journey is bigger than any single outcome. That reinforces the bond immensely. For you, it's about showing you care about the person, not just the performance.
Another really different example is Tony Hsieh and his whole downtown project idea. He was obsessed with collisions.
Yeah, those serendipitous encounters. He believed they were the engine of connection and innovation. He'd literally designed spaces and events to make people bump into each other.
Rearranging furniture at parties just to force mingling.
He understood that innovation doesn't just happen in formal meetings. It sparks in those informal chats. People felt this sense of possibility around him.
And that links back to Thomas Allen's research, right? Finding that physical closeness was the biggest predictor of communication in R&D team.
Exactly. Proximity matters. Shea was intentionally engineering that proximity.
So how do we signal vulnerability in practice? The book gives some concrete tips.
Yeah, simple things like really showing you're listening, nodding, eye contact, verbal cues like uh-huh or got it.
Yeah.
Over-communicate listening.
And admitting you don't have all the answers.
Yes. Spotlighting your fallibility early, using phrases like, this is just my first thought, or I could be totally wrong here, or help me understand what I'm missing.
It invites others in, makes it safe for them to contribute or disagree, and leaders going first is key.
Absolutely. Look at R.C. Buford with the Spurs, hugely successful, but quiet, unassuming. He creates space.
There's that simple baseball coach anecdote, too. Just telling a struggling player.
3 years ago, a star player was sitting right where you are now. Such a brief, powerful message.
Yeah, it says, I see your struggle, it's normal, and I believe you can get through it. Connection and possibility in one sentence.
And again, designing spaces for interaction helps. Zappos' single entrance, Pixar taking over the cafeteria. It's about fostering those collisions.
Let's talk about United Flight 232 again. That's vulnerability under unimaginable pressure.
Incredible story. When Captain Haynes lost all hydraulics, his admission was crucial. Your captain has no idea what is going on or how to fix it. Can you help?
Wow. That honesty just opened the door. Right. It flattened the hierarchy.
Completely. They shifted to these rapid-fire notifications, just sharing information constantly. Everyone pitched in. His vulnerability enabled collaboration that saved lives.
It shows that admitting you don't know can be the strongest move, especially when you need everyone's input. What about things like Pixar's Brain Trust or the SEAL's after-action reviews?
These are structured ways to build vulnerability and trust. They are designed for candor, even when it's uncomfortable.
Pixar's Ed Catmull saying, all our movies suck at first. That normalizes the struggle.
And the SEAL's heirs focusing relentlessly on what happened, why, how do we fix it, often led by enlisted guys to ensure honesty. It builds incredible trust.
There's even experimental evidence, like the give some game.
Right, showing that when one person takes a risk, shares something vulnerable, it encourages the other person to do the same, leading to more cooperation. It creates a vulnerability loop.
And that trust can be contagious.
Yeah, research suggests it can spread, which brings us to the DARPA Red Balloon Challenge.
The MIT team's strategy was brilliant. They didn't hoard information.
No, they created a network of vulnerability. Their message was basically, hey, we need your help with this crazy thing, and if we win, everyone who helps gets a share.
That openness built massive cooperation, while other teams trying to control information failed. It was vulnerability at scale.
Even Steve Jobs, not always known for vulnerability, would apparently start pitches with, here's a dopey idea. Disarming, right? It invites collaboration.
And things like the 36 questions that lead to love, it's structured, reciprocal vulnerability, building closeness.
It shows the process matters, which connects to Draper Kaufman and the early Navy SEAL training.
Inspired by the French Corps, Frank,
Right.
right. Incredibly intense shared hardship.
Exactly. Relying completely on each other in brutal conditions. It forged unbreakable trust. As one SEAL said, it leaves you wide open, everyone knows who you are, and if you perform, the trust is exponentially higher.
That intense shared experience, that forced vulnerability, built the foundation.
And look at the Upright Citizens Brigade, UCB, and their obsession with the Herald improv format.
It's notoriously difficult.
On purpose. Because it forces actors to let go of ego, support each other, be willing to fail together. You have to trust your partners.
As Nate Dern said, you have to be able to be naked so that people can find things together. It requires deep mutual reliance.
Even the Pink Panthers, the Jewel Thieves, their incredible coordination suggests a deep, shared understanding, likely born from shared risk and vulnerability.
And then Cooper's story from Team 6 in Afghanistan, after that tragic ambush caused by bad decisions.
He rebuilt cohesion through relentless, hard, shared training and those brutally honest AARs led by the enlisted guys, the backbone of humility.
His realization was profound. The real courage is seeing the truth and speaking the truth to each other.
And that quote, being vulnerable together is the only way a team can become invulnerable.
Wow.
It really sums it up. And we see it too in people like Roshi Gavecci at IDEO, her deep listening creating spaces for breakthroughs. Yeah, and that research on concordances, those synced moments in conversation linked to empathy, it all points to vulnerability fostering deeper connection.
So the actionable insight here for you, reflect on your own approach to vulnerability.
Where can you maybe lean in a bit more? Ask for help, admit a mistake, initiate one of those vulnerability loops.
It doesn't have to be huge. Small acts of openness build trust over time.
It's about showing up as human, basically. That's how real connection happens.
Okay, final pillar, establishing purpose. High-performing groups aren't just safe and trusting. They're aligned around a shared goal.
Absolutely. This purpose acts like a compass, focusing attention and driving engagement. Coyle talks about high-purpose environments.
Like the physical spaces themselves send signals.
Exactly. SEAL headquarters with its memorials, Pixar's building echoing its movies, UCB's theater walls covered in photos of past teams, KOPP schools decorating rooms with college banners.
It makes the purpose tangible, visible, constant.
It does. And the Johnson & Johnson Tylenol crisis is such a powerful example of purpose in action.
When cyanide was found in capsules, CEO James Burke faced an impossible decision.
But he leaned on their credo, their statement of purpose, which put the public first. That guided the massive recall decision.
It cost a fortune short term, but rebuilt trust long term. His quote about the soul of the corporation watching is so telling.
It shows how a clear, lived purpose provides direction when things get tough. For you, does your team have that clear why?
Then there's the Pygmalion effect study. Teachers told certain kids were bloomers.
Even though they were chosen randomly. But the teachers believed it and treated them differently. More warmth, more input, more opportunities, better feedback.
And those kids actually showed significant IQ gains. The belief shaped the outcome.
It's a stunning demonstration of how communicating high expectations and belief can elevate performance. How are you signaling belief in the people around you?
Adam Grant's study with University Call Center fundraisers is another great one.
Yeah, simply connecting them with students who actually received the scholarships they were raising money for.
Their performance shot up. Calls went up. Revenue went way up.
Why? Because the purpose became real. They saw the direct impact of their work. Making the why tangible is incredibly motivating.
What about the English football hooliganism story? That seemed like an intractable problem.
It did. But Clifford Stott's approach wasn't just more riot police. He used liaison officers to build relationships and establish shared rules with fan groups.
So instead of us versus them, it became more collaborative.
Exactly. The dynamic flipped. Fans started policing themselves, even asking the liaisons for help with troublesome police officers. It shows purpose can emerge from shared understanding and rules.
Amy Edmondson's study on surgical teams learning a new technique is also revealing.
Yeah, the faster learning teams weren't necessarily the ones with the star surgeon. They were the ones who explicitly framed it as a learning process, clarified roles, felt safe to speak up, shared info openly, and reflected together.
The process and shared understanding of purpose learning together mattered more than status or prior experience.
It really highlights the importance of how the team frames its work and collaborates in real time.
Let's talk Danny Meyer, the restaurateur, his enlightened hospitality philosophy.
He's brilliant at embedding purpose. His stakeholder ranking is famous. Colleagues first, then guests, community, suppliers, investors last.
That sends a clear message about priorities, and his catchphrases act like purpose beacons.
Totally. 51 percenters hiring for emotional skills, making the charitable assumption. These are heuristics, simple rules guiding complex behavior towards the core purpose.
Like those slime molds using simple rules, Meyer has loads. We are all paid to solve problems. Make sure to pick fun people to solve problems with. There's glory in making a mistake.
They create a shared language and reinforce the culture constantly. The All Blacks rugby team does this too, with tons of catchphrases driving their purpose.
Even Ed Catmull admitting Pixar's earlier building design was a mistake because it didn't maximize interaction shows how seriously they take designing for their purpose.
And his core principles for creativity: protecting autonomy, making it safe to fail, celebrating initiative, all serve the purpose of making great films. Plus, that mantra, all the movies are bad at first, reinforces the process.
The book also stresses spotlighting small, effortful behaviors that align with the purpose.
Yeah, like Danny Meyer's focus on the salt shaker placement, signaling attention to detail, or KIPP schools aligning water bottles neatly. It seems small, but signals order and standards. Pixar investing heavily in short films signals commitment to craft.
These small things become symbols of the bigger purpose. And your personal story about coaching that writing team.
Yeah, applying these ideas, changing seating, building connection, sharing vulnerability with early drafts, using feedback structures and catchphrases, it genuinely transformed the group's dynamic and results. It worked even on that small scale.
So the final actionable insight here. Get really clear on the purpose of your group. Is it clear? Is it alive?
How can you create or strengthen those beacons of purpose? What are the key messages? What are the simple rules or catchphrases that capture it?
Think about those small, vivid signals that constantly remind everyone what you're aiming for together.
It's about weaving that narrative of shared purpose into the fabric of the group's daily life.
Okay, so to wrap up our deep dive into the culture code, we've hit the three big keys. Build safety, share vulnerability, establish purpose.
And the big takeaway is that these aren't just nice ideas. They are built through specific, intentional actions and interactions. Culture is something you do, remember?
Right. So for you listening, the power is in applying these principles. Building a strong culture starts with how you show up, how you connect, how you communicate that shared why.
It's about being conscious of the signals you send, the loops you create, the purpose you reinforce.
So a final thought to leave you with. Look at the groups you're in, your team, your family, your community. What's one small thing you could do today?
Could you offer a specific belonging cue? Share a small vulnerability? Shine a light on your shared goal in a new way.
Think about the potential unlocked when people feel truly safe, connected, and aligned. That's the power of intentionally building culture.
It's not magic. It's about understanding these fundamentals and putting them into practice consistently. That's how groups achieve remarkable things.